Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into the world of 1950s American housewives today.
An era, yeah, that really captures the imagination, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. We've got these images of like perfectly kept homes
Right, yeah.
and, women in those beautiful dresses.
So dresses, absolutely.
But what was life really like back then? I mean, beyond those picture perfect images.
Right, right. Because, we're going to be looking at some firsthand accounts.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some historical analysis, really trying to dig in,
Really get a sense of it.
Yeah, because it's often portrayed as this time of like simplicity,
Yeah.
traditional values. But when you dig deeper,
Yeah.
it's a lot more complicated, really.
That's what I bet. So we've got this image of like, the perfect housewife,
Yeah,
June Cleaver.
exactly.
But what's the reality?
Well, the sources we're looking at really paint a picture of women who are like incredibly dedicated.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, dedicated to their families, to their communities.
That makes sense.
They took a lot of pride in like their homemaking skills,
Yeah.
Cooking from scratch, sewing their own clothes.
Those skills, wow.
Yeah, but it wasn't just about like the tasks themselves, there was a lot of meaning behind it.
Oh,
Like food, for example,
yeah.
was a symbol of love and care.
Makes sense. Happy husband, happy life, right? Or is that too simplistic?
Well, it's definitely more than just keeping the husband happy.
Right.
These women were like super active in their communities,
I can see that. Yeah.
organizing all kinds of things, like
Yeah.
school events, volunteering at hospitals,
Wow.
all sorts of social groups,
Oh, yeah. Like the sewing circles and stuff?
Exactly. Sewing circles, book clubs, and those gatherings, they
Yeah.
provided this sense of belonging.
It's like a support system.
It is, but it also kind of, as the sources point out, reinforced these societal expectations.
There's like a support system, but maybe one that also keeps you in a box in a way.
Yeah, there's that duality.
Yeah.
Like, this real sense of community and purpose,
Uh-huh.
but also this pressure to conform.
That makes sense.
And that's a real tension that we see throughout all these different sources.
Fascinating. So it's like they're encouraged to excel at, being a homemaker,
Right.
but also expected to be like cheerful
Yes.
and
You know,
subservient.
Yeah, subservient to their husbands.
Wow.
I mean, there's this one account
Oh,
where a housewife talks about always greeting her husband at the door
Yeah.
with a smile and a freshly cooked meal.
no matter what.
No matter what, no matter how her day went. Like her own feelings
Yeah.
were kind of secondary to maintaining that image
Right.
of the perfect, happy housewife.
Yeah.
And the media really played a role in this too.
Oh, of course.
I mean, advertisements were everywhere, showing these images of the ideal housewife.
perfect dress.
Impeccably dressed. Yeah. Effortlessly managing everything.
Gotta have those new appliances.
Oh, yeah. Thanks to all the latest gadgets.
Right.
And always putting, her family first.
Always putting everyone else first.
It's like they were selling this aspiration,
Yeah.
but maybe not the reality.
Right. Right.
And that's something we're going to explore further.
Okay.
As we look closer at the role of media and how it really shaped these perceptions
Right. Right.
of women.
It's like they're creating this whole world
Mm-hmm.
that maybe didn't even really exist.
Exactly.
Fascinating.
Yeah, there was this one ad campaign I was thinking about for washing machines.
Oh yeah.
It shows this housewife,
Mm-hmm.
all smiles, surrounded by like tons of laundry,
Yeah.
gleaming white laundry, and the tagline was like, "Wash day blues? Not anymore."
It's like they were trying to glamorize chores, make
Right.
it seem fun.
Like, hey, even if your whole life is about chores, you can still do it with a smile.
Yeah.
But
Thanks to these new gadgets.
exactly.
But was that really how it was?
Well, when you read these firsthand accounts,
Yeah.
you get a different picture.
Okay.
It's more complicated,
Yeah.
Some women really loved being homemakers. They found it like really fulfilling, but others
Yeah.
felt trapped.
Oh wow.
Like they wanted more.
Yeah.
They wanted opportunities outside the home.
It's like what we see in those ads, those perfect images.
Yeah.
It's almost like a facade,
Mm-hmm.
hide like a lot of frustration maybe.
Yeah.
Or even like a quiet rebellion simmering under the surface.
And that's where those social dynamics get really interesting, you know, because those close-knit communities we were talking about, they provided a lot of support,
Right.
but they could also be like really stifling.
I can see that.
Imagine the pressure to conform, you know, to fit in that image of the perfect housewife.
Like, you have all this support,
Mm-hmm.
but what good is it if it comes at the cost of your individuality?
Right, exactly.
Did any of the sources mention women, like, pushing back against these expectations?
There are some hints of it.
Okay.
Like there's one account
Yeah.
about a group of women who started a secret book club.
A secret book club?
I know, right? And they would discuss like feminist authors,
Wow.
which was like pretty radical at the time.
A subversive book club.
Totally.
So even within those restrictive circles, there was like this desire for something more.
It's like a seed being planted
Right.
that would eventually grow into like the women's rights movement.
Wow, so those cracks were starting to show.
Yeah, like change was on the horizon.
Even in this seemingly idyllic world
Exactly.
of 1950s domesticity.
And that brings us to the husband-wife dynamic.
Yeah, which on the surface seems pretty straightforward.
Right, it was all about traditional roles.
Breadwinner and homemaker.
Exactly.
But like we've been saying, the reality was much more complicated.
Yeah, because even if a woman was happy as a homemaker, there's still that power imbalance.
Right.
And the sources, they highlight
Yeah.
a lot of ways that played out.
Oh, interesting.
Like, for example, a lot of women,
Yeah.
they were expected to manage the family finances.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But they had very little control over, you know,
Over the money itself?
yeah, how it was earned or spent.
So it's like
Uh-huh.
they were responsible for making ends meet,
Right.
but didn't actually get to make the big decisions.
Exactly.
A lot of responsibility
Yeah.
with very little power.
And that lack of autonomy, you know, it went beyond just finances.
Right.
It's like, even though these women were incredibly capable,
Yeah.
resourceful,
Yeah.
they were still, you know, trapped
In this system.
in this system that limited their choices.
It's a good point to keep in mind
Mm-hmm.
when we compare, their lives
Right.
to women today.
Because we've made progress.
Oh, absolutely.
But a lot of those, like, underlying power dynamics,
yeah.
they still exist.
Right. It's like we've shattered that glass ceiling,
Uh-huh.
but we're still like navigating those shards.
That's a great way to put it.
It's like we have more freedom,
Yeah.
but also more responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
more pressure.
It makes you wonder, you know,
Yeah.
if we've really found that balance.
Like between work and life.
Right. Like that balance that those 1950s housewives,
Yeah.
maybe they had it figured out in a way.
Despite all the limitations they faced.
Something to think about.
It's like we've uncovered this like hidden truth about the 1950s housewife.
Mm-hmm.
They were held back by all these expectations,
Yeah.
but they also had this sense of community
Yeah.
that we seem to be missing today.
And that's a really important point. You know?
Yes.
It's not about like romanticizing the past
Right.
or trying to go back to those traditional roles.
Yeah, no.
But maybe there are some things we can learn
Mm-hmm.
from these women, you know?
Yeah, so instead of like wishing for simpler times,
Right.
it's more about figuring out
Mm-hmm.
how we create that sense of belonging today,
Exactly.
even with all the complexities of modern life.
And one thing that really stands out, you know,
Yeah.
is how these women, they really valued their social connections.
Yeah.
Like, they got it.
They understood it
They knew how important it was to connect
in person.
face to face. Yeah, building those relationships.
It's funny because I'm constantly online,
Yeah,
but I often feel really isolated.
I get that.
Like I miss that kind of that deep personal connection.
And that's so common these days.
It is.
I mean, we're more connected than ever,
yeah,
but it's a different kind of connection.
it is.
So maybe there's something to be said for taking a page from their book, you know?
Yeah.
Like prioritizing those face-to-face interactions.
Right. Yeah.
Whether it's, you know, joining a book club, volunteering, or even just, you know, inviting your neighbors over.
It's like we've traded those informal support systems for like institutions and paid services.
Right.
Instead of, borrowing a cup of sugar,
Yeah.
you order it on Amazon.
Exactly.
Or instead of like sharing childcare with friends,
Right.
you hire a nanny.
And those things are helpful. you know?
Oh, absolutely.
But they don't replace that sense of community.
Right.
That feeling of, like, we're in this together.
It's about, like, finding that balance between being independent and being connected.
Exactly.
And it's like these women, they understood that, you know.
Put in.
We're not meant to do it all alone.
It's such a powerful reminder.
It is.
That even in a time that emphasized individual achievement, human connection, it's still essential.
So maybe that's the real legacy of the 1950s housewife. It's not about, you know, the perfect house or the fancy meals. It's about understanding that we need each other.
We do.
We need that sense of belonging and purpose.
Absolutely.
So as we navigate modern life, let's remember their lessons. Let's reach out to our neighbors, offer help, and rediscover the power of community.
And hey, maybe we'll even bring back some of those those great vintage fashion trends.
Imagine that, right?
Like a sea of perfect hair.
And those full skirts.
At the next PTA meeting.
I would love to see that.
Right.
But seriously, I think we've really uncovered some amazing insights.
We have.
It's been a journey.
Yes.
Back in time.
Yeah.
Looking at not just, you know, the surface of things, but really digging into the deeper meaning.
The cultural forces.
Yeah.
The social dynamics.
And as always,
we
encourage you, our listeners, to keep thinking about this.
Yeah.
It resonated with you.
What connections can you make to your own life?
Talk to your friends and family about it.
Exactly.
It's a conversation worth having.
It is.
So until next time, keep exploring.
Keep questioning.
And keep diving deep.